How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Today's project is this Craftsman push mower. It's got a Kohler XT7 engine, same as an XT173. And when I got it, there was oil caked everywhere on the deck. I've kind of scraped a lot of it off, and it looks like 100 times better. And that was a little concerning to me. I just was hoping that they overfilled the oil, but turns out that was not the case. I also, it wouldn't run. Actually, it would run, but it was running really rich. It was puffing black smoke, and turns out that the carburetor had a bad needle and seat because there was fuel pouring out of the air filter as well when it was not running. So I was able to get an aftermarket carburetor from Sten's for like 20 bucks plus tax here in Canada, which is fantastic. So it runs perfectly now, but I just have it outside because I wanted to show you what's going on. That this hose originally was not on here. There's a crankcase breather tube at the end of my finger in there, and that is supposed to ventilate the built-up pressure within the inside the crankcase, and that gas usually comes out here. Well, gas, I call it gas, it's a vapor, comes out here and goes into your air filter, and basically either gets reburnt or captured there. So the problem this thing is having, and this is why there's oil everywhere, caked everywhere, is that first of all, this tube was missing, and second of all, it is pouring oil out the crankcase breather. So that's our problem for today. We're hopefully going to fix it, but before we get started, I'm just going to show you the oil dripping out of this thing when it's running. It will take a few minutes for this to manifest itself to build up the pressure in the crankcase. Hey guys, got you up on my lift here. I do apologize for all the background noise. I have to have my fans on in here because it's about 100 degrees out, and I need some airflow. So I'm trying to talk up a little bit. I'm just taking the covers off here. Oh, yeah. These are penalty pink. One fell in there. Good thing, I guess, we're having to take all this off. Okay, I'm going to take off the starter recoil now, put this fuel cap back on. 10 mil. And there's also two 8 mil screws up front here. Comes off, and there's my screw. Alright, I think I'm going to take these off just so I don't lose them. Alright guys, next step then is put the gas cap back on. I'm going to take this starter cup off 3/4 inch. That off. Gives us a chance to check the flywheel key, which is good. So I'll keep this nut handy. plastic shroud or the cooling fins off. Now I need to get this flywheel off. So I need to release this brake over here. So I'm going to put a tie up on the brake bail up top. So now you can see this brake pad is actually off the flywheel. To get this flywheel off now, I'm going to try and put this crowbar up and underneath somewhere. So I can put some upward pressure on this flywheel and try and hit it up, knock it off with this air chisel. Alright, so that air chisel worked. I'm just going to take the rest of the flywheel off. And the key looks in perfect shape. And this here is the area that we're going to be focusing our attention on. So there's two 10 mil bolts here. Alright, so there is a gasket underneath here. And I don't want to tear that gasket, so I'm going to have to try and be very careful taking this plate off. Alright guys, so this is underneath the plate here. So we do have this gasket. It's a fairly thick one. There is a spring here. Get rid of the spring first. I do have to get this gasket off. But I have to be very, very careful. Thankfully they made it nice and thick. Try not to tear this thing. So I'll be back when I get it off here. Alright, so I was able to get it off fairly clean. There's a little bit of remnants here, but it is a thick gasket, like I said. Now there is a bit of a spongy filter right here. I have to try and dig that out. It's actually a metal filter. Alright, so this is where all the ventilation happens. There's a disc here. I'm going to clean that up, put it back. So right in here is the inside of the crankcase. When the pressure builds up, the gases escape through here, lift up that disc, which is where the spring was. So the disc moves up, the gases come across over here and into this chamber, and then out through this half of the chamber, which is where that tube is, where this tube is connected to, right here. So what happens is if the machine is overfilled with oil, which it wasn't, I already checked, what will happen is a lot of that oil, or some of that oil, could come up and through here and come out here into this chamber here. And I don't know if you can see, but right at the very bottom of that chamber there's a hole. And that's what I think, I'm hoping anyways, is plugged up. Because this chamber is filling up with oil, and then it's overflowing into this half and out this tube. So that's what I think is going on. And I'm going to try and poke something down through that hole to see if it's actually clogged. Alright, so I cleaned out this area of this area right here that had all the oil in it, and you can maybe see that little black space right there. That's actually looking straight into the crankcase. So that's vented into the crankcase, overflows into this area, and it's supposed to go down that hole if there's any oil. So what I'm going to do is, to test my theory, is to just put a whole bunch of oil in here and see, or a little bit anyways, and see if the oil goes down. And as you can see, the oil actually did flow through there. So now I'm kind of stumped. There's not much else it could be, minus the fact this thing is, I don't know what else it could be. It's obviously coming out this area here. So this whole area is filling up with oil. So I don't know how that could be. Unless this thing is just way overfilled with oil. Alright, so just so you guys can see, I'm gonna actually check the oil level here. And as you can see, it is overfilled a little bit, but not that much. So something is causing a large amount of pressure to build up in this crankcase and blow out all sorts of oil, and that little drain hole apparently is not big enough to keep up. So anyways, I'm gonna poke through that drain hole again anyways. I'm gonna clean all this all out, put it all back together, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so I cleaned up this whole area, and now you can see a lot better that little hole. And on this back wall right here, there's an opening that goes out the breather tube. Alright guys, so the mower is over there running. I wanted to keep you over here just so I could talk to you for a minute. The couple of things that I did was I did drain out all the oil and then put back about 400 to 450 milliliters. But it was only at around 600 milliliters when I drained it all out. So it's overfilled a little bit, but not by a lot. The second thing I did was that little spring. I actually tried to make the tension on the spring a little bit larger by pulling the spring just a tad bit. So stretching it just a little bit so it puts more pressure on that disc. Because I thought maybe the disc was coming up prematurely with if that spring tension was a little bit too little. So it's been running for about 7 minutes now. Alright guys, so there you go. It's not leaking anymore, so I think either it was overfilled by probably 100 to 150 milliliters, which usually wouldn't do that, or the spring tension was getting reduced to hold that disc down. So it's possible that it was just blowing by oil all the time. So or maybe a combination of the two. So that's it for today's project, guys. What I would maybe suggest is that you just check the oil first, and if that doesn't work, start getting in there and like we did today, and we'll blow out that little hole, that little drain hole, just to make sure it's not plugged, and maybe adjust the spring tension just a little bit. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully I helped somebody out there. And if you like the content, please go ahead and hit the like button, and the subscribe button really helps me out on the channel. And until next project, take care.